Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad somebody pointed out that it was stuffy in there. Yeah, it's very warm and stuffy. But the good news is, at the end of my talk, there's a lunch for everybody, so that's something to look forward to. And I've been told I have to earn my lunch by inspiring you all around water and water heritage. So thank you to Virginia and Niamh and everybody at the Heritage Council for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. And I was inspired by this photograph on the website promoting this day, because it shows a group of people alongside a coastal scene connecting with their local water, and that's what my talk is about, that connection between people and water heritage in particular. Why? Because water is a vital resource for which there is no known substitute. And for me the key word there is vital. Water is vital because without it we can't survive, and we know that, and our youngest school children learn that in primary school. But we often take it for granted, and water quality is under pressure. Lorcan mentioned climate change. Just think of last summer, the drought of last summer, water scarcity. Last year was the hottest year on record, and 2015, 16 and 17 were the three hottest years before that. So climate change is impacting on water availability and water quality. But also as water travels through the landscape, and this is a typical catchment, as water travels through the landscape, we interact with it through our activities, so therefore we have an influence on water quality and our access to it. So what I'm going to talk about, I'll just set the scene a bit about who we are, the Local Authority Waters Programme, why we are and what we do, and then focus on Water Heritage Day. This is the third year of our collaboration with the Heritage Council, with Heritage Week, and it's been really, really successful. We're delighted with it, 2017 and 18. And personally, I'm very excited by the theme this year, Pastimes and Pastimes. I think it's fantastic, particularly for the connection with water. That photograph there is an event last year that I'm from Dungarvan in County Waterford, and I was involved in organising this event, which was the Dungarvan Harbour Heritage Walk and exhibition in conjunction with Waterford County Museum. And I know Christina O'Connor is going to talk about Gallows Hill, another fantastic community-led project. But just looking at Dungarvan Harbour, I grew up around that area, just not too far from there. So the harbour and the coastal area was just part of how I grew up and interacted, and we would have swam in the harbour, built rafts, picked winkles and sold them, all of that along the coast. At a time when water quality wasn't at its best, talking like the late 70s, early 80s. And what's interesting, where we're standing for that photograph, about 200 metres away, there was an open water swimming pool in Dungarvan. So when the tide would come in, they'd open the valve, the pool would fill, close the valve, and we'd swim in that for the day. And actually where we're standing was the site of the old tannery in Dungarvan, so really close to the tannery and the swimming pool, about 200 metres away, and all the sewage from the town went out into the harbour as well. So thankfully things have improved now. You know, those factories are gone, there's a massive treatment plant for the town, so water quality in the harbour is improving. It's much better than it was back in the 70s and 80s, and in fact now wildlife is thriving there. There are now otters in the harbour, which were never there when I was growing up, and otters are a real indicator of water quality. So just that connection with our past heritage, our pastime, and the natural heritage around water. So who are we? The Local Authority Waters Programme. We work with local authorities, public bodies, local communities to protect, maintain and improve water quality in our natural waters. And they include streams, rivers, lakes, estuaries, groundwater, wetlands and coastal waters. And I just noticed there actually on that slide, missing from that are stakeholders. Stakeholders are key to this as well. So it's taking this whole of society approach, the public sector, the private sector, stakeholders and of course communities. People are key to this approach. And why are we taking this approach? Well, it's driven by the EU Water Framework Directive, and there's been a lot of mention around the EU and European heritage And of course we're sick of seeing this flag. We see it every day in the news with Brexit going on. But I can tell you that being part of the EU is absolutely a positive for us. The European Union has the best environmental legislation in the world, second to none. And this is probably one of the best ones, the European Water Framework Directive. It came out in 2000, and one of the key elements of that was that it mandated public participation. People, communities, citizens have to be involved in planning and measures, and because they recognise that without the public and without people involved, it's just going nowhere. Then at a national level, it's implemented through river basin management plans. So this is the current river basin management plan. You may be familiar with that cover, or you may have been involved in the consultation process, but that sets out how we as a nation will go about protecting, maintaining and improving water quality, not because it's an EU legislation, but because it benefits our health, our wildlife and our economy. Everything is connected here. So what's it got to do with heritage? Well, the opening line of the Water Framework Directive says this, that water is not a commercial product like any other, but rather a heritage which must be protected, defended and treated as such. That is the very opening line of the Water Framework Directive, setting the tone that water is not a commodity, it's not a food or a raw material to be traded, it's a heritage. Our access to it is handed down from generation to generation, and therefore it's up to us to ensure that future generations get to enjoy it the way we did and the way our ancestors did. For me, that's one of the defining parts of the Water Framework Directive. And how good are our waters in Ireland? You know, a lot of people would say, oh, our waters are brilliant in comparison to other countries. And yes, they are in comparison to heavy industrialised nations like Belgium or France or Germany. But the Scandinavians have probably the best waters in Europe. Ours are pretty good. And this is taken from the River Basin Management Plan based on EPA data. So you can see there the blue are the high status waters. They're the pristine, the best of the best, our waters. The green are the good status. Then we're getting into the moderate, poor and bad. And what the Water Framework Directive requires is that all our waters are at least good status by 2027. So by 2027, that picture should be all green and blue. The yellow, orange and red gone. So you can see we have our work cut out. Particularly you see there the transitional waters, which are our estuaries. So this is where all our rivers and everything flows out to the sea. By that stage it has gone through the catchment. Most of our towns and cities are located in these estuaries, so there's a lot of activity, but from agriculture and industry, that is impacting on those estuaries. So that's the current picture. Well, that's 2015. It hasn't changed much, but that's the task. So a bit about us. So we are the Local Authority Waters Programme. It's a local authority shared service set up in 2016. And I just introduced this slide just to show you that, like, we're a shared service working for local authorities, but what's happening in Ireland, folks, it's quite unique, really, to be honest with you. It's kind of leading the way in how the Water Framework Directive is managed and being delivered across Europe, and there's a lot of interest in what's happening here. So we have two teams. We have the catchment assessment team and the communities team. So we work alongside all 31 local authorities. We're working with local authorities, the existing work they're doing, environment sections, community and enterprise, heritage officers, water services, all the services that local authorities are currently delivering, we're complementing them with our work. And we have a team of scientists who are out there in the rivers, you know, measuring the water quality, and they do that by the ecology, by the natural heritage, the tiny little bugs, otters, fish, all of these are indicators of water quality. We work closely with the agencies there. You see the EPA, Inland Fisheries Ireland, Office of Public Works, National Parks and Wildlife Service, Irish Water, National Federation of Group Water Schemes, and I'm sure there are other acronyms there that I couldn't think of, but We do like our acronyms in the public sector, there's no doubt. But what's interesting is on the right-hand side, what you see there are the community groups. So our community water officers, which I'm sure some of you met, I met Tommy Keogh earlier on, I was delighted to meet Tommy, just these community champions and community leaders who are out there, you know, working, leading these groups like Tidy Towns groups, angling clubs. And our community water officers work with them to support them, because very often communities understand what's happening in their local environment and have initiatives and ideas that can make improvements. So we're there to support that. And that's done through these guys are community water officers, 12 of them based around the country, working out of local authority centres. Excuse me. You may have met some of them, and you'll also notice there are two blank dots there. That's because recently we've lost two colleagues that moved on, but the benefit of that is there are now there's 3 opportunities there it was just advertised yesterday. It's on our Facebook page actually, and I had some leaflets over there, so if you want to pick one up, please, our contact details are on the back. But if you know anybody who would like to have a look at these opportunities, there are 3 posts advertised to work with us to work towards better water quality, working with local authority and agency staff, but the main focus here is community engagement and support, driven by that ethos of healthy waters, supporting vibrant communities. I mentioned earlier the River Basin Management Plan, so that's 2018 to 2021. The third cycle one is 2022 to 2027, which is when the Water Framework Directive ends. But back in 2017, when we were just a year old as an organisation, the consultation on the draft River Basin Management Plan, we went out at a local level, held these meetings all around the country, around about 140 of them. You may have seen these, or you may have attended. And we were asking communities and asking the public, what does your local water mean to you? And we had a submission form. We received back 1,000 submissions, which gave us an enormous amount of data and information of public views and and opinions on their water. And we asked this question: what is your interest or concern with your local water body? We got back a whole range of answers, but you can see what's interesting here. You see where heritage is there. It features right up there. You know, it's one of the top 6 or 7 answers responded to. And that was evident in the responses. People really, really value their waterway, whether it is the built heritage around it, their local bridge, it could be a mill, it could be an old castle or a fort, and just wanting to preserve that and open access, have access to it as an amenity or as a point of interest for locals and visitors to the area, recognising the importance of that heritage. But equally the natural heritage that Lurkin spoke about, whether it's the fish or the swans or the otters, or just because they're indicators of the health of the water. So that was very interesting to see that heritage featured so strongly in that consultation. But ultimately, this is all about people and water, just connecting local communities with their local water body. It's amazing to see what the likes of the group, the Friends of the Carmack are doing, Tommy and that around the country. Just people really, really engaging with water as a resource, as what's on their doorstep, appreciating it and wanting to protect it, as we were saying, to hand on to future generations. So these are some photographs from Water Heritage Day last year. And I'm just looking at the top left-hand photograph there. That's Rory O'Conacora, Community Water Officer in Limerick, alongside the River Mulcair. And I know Elaine spoke there about event planning and planning your event in advance, and health and safety requirements and doing risk assessments. That's key, because if you look there, like they are standing alongside a pretty fast-flowing river. So you really do need to walk these areas in advance. And this is where we can help, and our community water officers can help, because they're experienced. They know the risks and the dangers. They know what kind of measures you can build in and be sensible about organising these events. But like these walks and these interactions with water have proved very successful, And very often we walk by these things on a daily basis. We take them for granted, like the bottom left-hand photograph. That's from the Dungarvan Harbour Heritage Walk. And there's a plaque up on the wall that I probably have walked past hundreds of times. But Willie Whelan there, the curator from the local museum, was able to talk us around all that maritime and seafaring trade from the quay in Dungarvan, pointing out these points of interest. Excuse me. And the bottom right, just getting young kids and families interacting with their local streams or their rivers, just getting down in there, getting their feet wet, taking samples with their kick nets and getting to explore these little bugs and what's living inside in the rivers and streams. And that educational aspect as well, and inspiring the next generation. So Water Heritage Day is absolutely, we see it as an absolutely valuable, critical really, I suppose, in getting our messages across and getting people interested in their local water body. As Niamh said, it is a collaboration between ourselves and the Heritage Council. We're delighted with it, to be part of it again for the third year. And it's about connecting people with water heritage, both natural and built. And it's also an opportunity to get out of the house, get out and get involved with nature or your local built heritage, and just explore it, appreciate it, and get a better understanding. And here's some other photographs. So, so walks and talks are a great part of it as well. So, and there are some great local, knowledgeable local historians or wildlife enthusiasts who can get involved. And we've worked with community groups who organise these walks along a riverbank or a canal or a lake, and there's somebody in the locality who's very knowledgeable on that. So you can maybe have an arrangement with them to come along and lead the walk and talk to people around it, and it's a great way of just getting to appreciate that and getting to see those aspects of wildlife, flora and fauna that you might otherwise walk by. Again, looking at the dragon boat. Excuse me. I don't know if anyone has had this cough for the last week, but I've been bloody taken down with it. But you can see, like events on Water Heritage Day also provide an opportunity to experience water-based activities like dragon boating. Dragon boating is very popular, races, but dragon boat clubs are equally delighted to come along to an event like this and showcase what to do and take people out for a trip. Kayaking, canoeing and kayaking, getting out on lakes, getting out on rivers. There are providers who can get involved with events with you, and are quite happy and to take people out. Again, you can see it's a very controlled situation there. Everybody wearing life jackets, and it's just a great way to experience the water. But heritage, like we've fantastic natural, built and cultural heritage in Ireland, and we're steeped with songs, stories and poems, a lot of them connected with water. So Water Heritage Day again is an opportunity to maybe relive those or to focus on a particular one. I like this one on the top right. It's down at the River Mulcair, a mural that was painted around water. But it looks as if this guy is telling about the salmon he caught. It was that big, but the kids are not buying it. They're saying no. And equally, on the bottom left here, Karen Kennedy, our community water officer up in Leitrim and Longford, has been taking kick samples, and you can see that just the opportunity to have a look at the bugs that are in the water with a magnifying glass, getting right up close to have a look at it. And again, the young people love this. It's great for families to get involved. It's a real educational aspect and a way to just get involved, get engaged with what's happening in the river. It's also an opportunity to showcase your local area, showcase, this pride of place, or this, local community groups or heritage groups. It's an opportunity to have a guided walk around a particular area that you want to promote. We did that with the Dungarvan Harbour Heritage Walk. There was over 40 people, I think it was 45 people. You can see started there at the bridge, walked along. But at the end of it, everybody went for, half the group went for tea and coffee in in one of the local hostelries, and the conversation was great. People were reliving all these old stories of times long ago and what was happening in the town and on the quay. So, you know, there could be potential there then to have guided walks on a regular basis, but really an opportunity to showcase what the best points of a local area, particularly where water is based. And of course, I'm biased towards water, but again, it's about, you know, combining everything. Could be the arts, poetry, as we see here, could be arts, could be natural built heritage, could be exercise. You know, there's a whole range of things that you can just connect and really make the most out of an event on the day. And as I was saying, I really, really think this team is fantastic. So well done to whoever came up with it, because it's fantastic. You see the young lad there on the left. He's fishing from the riverbank on the River Mai after catching a nice sized salmon there, in all fairness to him. And on the right hand side, this is a book of poetry by Michael Cody from Carrick-on-Shore. Fantastic book of poetry. And Michael's a real water riverman himself, so he's got a photo here at the front of 4 rivermen. And what's interesting there, if you look at the young lad on the left there, he's standing on the riverbank, but he's wearing a personal flotation device. The 4 lads in the river cots there are strapped together with one more. There's not a life jacket in sight, but how times have changed. This is a typical, well, not typical, it's a catchment illustration that we use to kind of, as an infographic, I suppose. And I often like to explain it by, if you were to take away all human influences on that, nature would look after itself. Water would flow through the landscape without any influence. But we do, we impact on it through agriculture, forestry. We take our water supply from it. You can see the blue building there with the tap. Take it into our towns and villages, our homes, and then we discharge it, like you see the orange building there, wastewater treatment plant. Excuse me. But we also have this deep-rooted association with water. All of us have, whether you live on the coast or you live in a town or a city, wherever it is, there's a water body not that far from you, a river or a lake. So we have a deep-rooted connection and a heritage with water. And just some of the pastimes that I was looking at this and I was trying to identify pastimes. So I have fishing as a pastime, and it could be an event for Water Heritage Day. Surfing or beach activities along the coast. Kayaking, canoeing, again, getting out on rivers or lakes. Angling. There are loads of angling clubs around the country who are only just delighted at the opportunity to get involved and showcase what they do. Walking and cycling along a waterway, like greenways and blueways are becoming very popular these days. So it's, I think it's about really maximising what's on your doorstep, I suppose, is the point I'm making there. Holy wells, again, these are dotted around the landscape, but what's really interesting about holy wells is their designation as holy wells. So just acknowledging the importance of water to us and the value of water supply to us. So these wells were designated as holy places, sacred places, you know, not to be interfered with or damaged or polluted because of their value. Uplands areas, a lot of these, you saw those, that graph I showed with the blue, the high status sites, most of those are located up in our uplands areas where there's less human influence. But again, hill walking, those type of activities, you're getting to see the best of the best in regards to water quality. Swimming and trade, just again, this I suppose maritime tradition. You know, look around the country. Our major cities, Dublin, Waterford, Cork, Limerick, Galway, all located on the coast or at estuaries. You know, just acknowledging the benefit and the importance of water as navigation routes, as sources of water, as sources of food. So again, just an opportunity to kind of acknowledge that on Water Heritage Day. The types of events. So angling and fly casting. And as I mentioned, angling clubs are only too delighted to have the opportunity to come along. I mean, look at the top photograph there. It's an area cordoned off. So a local angling club giving a fly casting or casting demonstration. And what I love about this photograph, there's 4 children there taking time out of their busy lives, just sitting down, casting into the river, shooting the breeze. But what I like about it is there's not a phone or a tablet in sight. It's just them sitting down, getting back to basics. A cycling trip in the middle there at Donegal around the lake, just a cycling trip and a talk again about the natural heritage of the area. The ladies on the bottom photograph are involved in a bio-blitz. It's about going out and just seeing what sort of wildlife there is along a waterway, and you have a guide, so you capture something in a jar and then you look to your chart to identify it. So it's really educational and interactive way again. And boating or barging along our waterways, we've plenty of opportunity for that as well. But also on the coast, seaweed foraging. And there are local people who can lead these type of events as well. An opportunity to celebrate local seafood, and then there's so much more. These are just examples. Excuse me. So how can we help? And I'm careful here now to manage expectations. I know there's a lot of talk around managing expectations, like funding there. So we can help with funding. So if you are having an event with an association with water, you can contact your local community water officer or contact me. There are email addresses. We do have a limited pot of funding available, but we can support you. And even like advice or support around organising that event, what you can or cannot do, or best practice or learning from experience of Water Heritage Day from the previous 2 years, and promotion. Like we have to say and acknowledge this, the promotion and PR around Heritage Week is fantastic, and it's absolutely, it's one of the best examples I think in the country. So we're delighted to be part of that and having an association with that, but we can also promote that then through our own social media channels and website. So we're delighted to be able to take part in that. And just going back to Michael Cody's book, when I opened the front cover of it, I saw he quoted F. Scott Fitzgerald from The Great Gatsby, and he says, "So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past." And I thought that was a nice connection with water heritage. So thank you for your attention, folks.